Beat Making Basics.
What's going on YouTube? Beat Making Basics back again with another dope video. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe because we're coming back to back with bangers. Today's video, I'm gonna be going over how to mix a dark trap beat in 10 minutes or less. Okay, this is a 3-part series. If you're not familiar with it, basically what I do is we're making beats 10 minutes or less, but we're breaking up the sections. So first is the beat making process, then the arrangement process, then the mixing process. In this video, we're in the mixing process. So let's just go ahead and jump in. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I already kind of started mixing the beat, but I'm just going to go ahead and just make everything nominal gain. If you hold down Option and click on, your faders, it will go all the way to nominal gain like that. Second thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and convert all these files to audio. When it comes to mixing, for whatever reason, your computer is able to process audio a whole lot easier than it is with MIDI tracks. So what you want to do is just go ahead and export your session, and that's what I'm going to do real quick. Push Command Shift E, and then we're going to go to our desktop. I'm going to go here. We'll name the beat, and I'm going to say pre-stems just because I'm mixing this jank off, and I'm gonna do it like that. Okay, so cool. Now I'm gonna go ahead and export the files as audio, and then we're gonna open up a brand new session to get started on the mix. All right, now that we got this new session up, we're gonna go ahead and drag and drop the beat in here. Again, we're gonna be mixing this beat in 10 minutes or less, basically getting a basic solid mix on it. So I'm gonna come to my desktop and grab these stems and throw them in the session. All right, now we got our files here. Everything looks good. Highlight everything, Command A. Little trick here, you can use the greater than sign or less than sign to move this playhead around. And if you highlight everything and just push the semicolon, wherever you had this playhead in the track, it's going to move your session or whatever you have highlighted to that. So we're going to go ahead and put semicolon. It's going to take it to the beginning. All right, bet. So now we have our beat here. Next thing I'm going to do is make sure that we go to the end of the track and take the end marker to the very end of the track, because sometimes you might have it like this and you're not paying attention and you think, oh, okay, cool, I'm done. And then there's a bunch of dead space. So you want to eliminate that. The next thing we want to do outside of that is I want to go ahead and put a loop. And actually this looks like it's the wrong BPM. So let me get that right. Matter of fact, I had a BPM right here, 152. Okay, bet. So you want to do that too. Make sure you put your BPM on the session so that you can easily come in here and line everything up. But I'm gonna come to the hook, and I'm gonna go ahead and take all the tracks and lower the level to the very bottom. Now, typically what you would want to do is use a reference track, and basically a reference track is a track that's already mixed and mastered professionally. So you would want to go online and find yourself a reference track and drag it in here. But for copyright reasons, I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to stick to some basics here. Is you want your drums to knock. You want your 808 and your kick to be, and your snare to be the highest thing in the mix. So I would just go ahead and just take these up here and just take the snares and just go ahead and bring them up like that. Let's just see how that sounds. It looks like it's hitting a little too hard, so we're gonna just another thing here, you want to make sure that certain sounds are mono and certain sounds are stereo. For the most part, your drum sounds are going to be mono. So you just click up here where it says input, and click that guy, and it'll turn your drum sounds to mono. And this is gonna just help focus it a little bit more. And I could keep certain melody instruments stereo, but I want to make sure those drums are mono. All right, once you pretty much get your 808 kick and snare hitting relatively at the highest level without, clipping over here, start working on moving into bringing up like some of your melody. And the melody should never be over or higher in volume than your drums. So keep that in mind. All right, that sounds good. Now we're going to bring in those hi-hats. All right, bet. So we pretty much have the levels good. I'm going to go ahead and just take this down just a little bit. Next thing I would recommend doing, and I really need to reorganize this, I usually like having my drums at the top. Okay. So we're gonna have to restructure this beat. I usually like having my drums at the top and then having my melody at the bottom. But the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna group the tracks, okay? And this is a super simple tip you could use with mixing. Just come over here, highlight the tracks you want in a group. Where it says output, you're gonna go down to bus and pick an available bus. And then we're gonna rename them. So this first one is drums and the next one is melody. Now, if I need to make any adjustments, raise the volume or lower it, I can just lower it here. And that can also help us create headroom. Another thing we could do is we're going to start on the EQ process. For the most part, you want to do something called subtractive EQing. And it's basically where you're going to cut out some of the frequencies to make room for other frequencies. So all your tracks or instrument tracks have different frequencies or hit differently in the range of the frequency range or whatever. 200 hertz and lower. It's usually going to be like your drums, 808s, bass, usually 200 to like 1K, 2K, certain other instruments, mid-sounding instruments, certain synths, stuff like that. And then you have your high range. It's going to be your high-pitched instruments. So you want to make room for the lower instruments to shine. So what you could do is you could take out some of the frequency there. So this is the 808, right? I'm just going to play this real quick. You can actually see where it comes in. And like I said, that 808 is really hitting the hardest from, 20 hertz to 200 hertz. So we want to come over here on our melody tracks and take out some of those hertz, some of those frequencies. So I'm going to do it like that. We could move that on over like this on our instruments. And then another way I could do this as well is just actually go over here on this melody bus and do the same thing. I didn't necessarily have to do it twice, but this is something that you could do just to guarantee that's going to really make that 808 hit through. Now let's listen to it. All right, and another thing we're going to do is some slight panning. You want to keep your drums really kind of dead center. You can take your hi-hat and move it to the left or the right. And then same thing, but just slightly. And then a lot of this, the major panning is going to be like on your melody. So I'm going to take this one. Matter of fact, I might just go ahead and pan just these, the tink sound and this pad sound. y'all. So pretty much, I just wanted to introduce you to some simple mixing principles and tips in this video. The beat is pretty solid for the most part, and you know, there's other things we could do to the mix to make it better or whatever. But I want to give you the basics, man. Just to kind of go back over the video, is just making sure that you convert or export your stems as audio, put them in a new session. It's going to process the audio better. Make sure you get the proper levels. If you can, use a reference track. All right. And then keep things simple. As you saw, I'm not really doing a whole lot to this. I'm really manipulating the sounds that are already there and just balancing them out, making them work together. Keeping in mind the frequency range and everything like that. If you want more on how to mix and a more thorough understanding and breakdown, I have a whole course. You can go to my site, beatmakingbasics.com, or you can get the Beatmaking Master Bundle. It comes with everything we offer on the site. So you can get all the training you need. Appreciate y'all watching. I'll see you in the next video. We're out.